28, and I always thought online dating was just a harmless way to meet new people. After swiping through Tinder for weeks, I matched with a girl named Zoe. She said she was a photographer and loved exploring old, urban areas for her shoots. Zoe suggested we meet at this old factory on the outskirts of town for our first date, saying it would be cool to do a photo session there. I was hesitant because it sounded creepy, but she seemed really into it, and I didn't want to back down. I drove to the factory as we planned. It was way out there, surrounded by overgrown fields, and it looked like nobody had been there for years. I saw a black sedan parked there already, which I guessed was Zoe's. The whole place was fenced off, but there was a gap where the fence was bent, and that's where I assumed I was supposed to go in. It was getting dark, and just standing there looking at the factory made me uneasy. I texted Zoe that I was outside, half hoping she changed her mind. Right after I sent the text, though, I heard a loud bang from inside the factory, like metal hitting concrete. It echoed in the empty space around me. Immediately after, my phone buzzed. It was Zoe, texting me, "Stop waiting there and come inside," with a smiley face. That freaked me out. How did she know I was hesitating? The whole thing felt off. I stood there for a minute, trying to decide what to do. Another text from Zoe came in. I'm waiting. I looked at the dark windows of the factory, feeling like someone might be watching me. That was it. I couldn't do it. I turned around and hurried back to my car, my heart racing. I jumped in and slammed the door and tried to start the car, but it just made this sputtering noise and wouldn't turn on. I tried again and nothing. I got out to check and saw both of my front tires were slashed. Panic set in. I was stranded in the dark by this creepy factory. I called the cops, explaining the situation as best I could while keeping an eye on the factory entrance. While I was on the phone, though, my worst nightmare came true. I saw a figure stepping out from the shadow of the building. It was a man, big, wearing a dark hoodie. He started walking towards my car. I told the dispatcher someone was coming toward me and gave them my exact location. The man kept walking closer, not rushing, just a steady pace, like he had all the time in the world. I locked the car doors and shrank down in my seat. After a few seconds, I decided I'm not going to die like this, and jumped out of my car. I ran as fast as I could into the woods, and I saw that man had picked up his pace and was also running behind me. After what seemed like hours of running, I finally sat down behind a big log and tried to slow my breathing. I didn't move for at least 15 minutes. I only left that log once I heard loud police sirens coming closer. I've never been so relieved to see anyone in my life. The police searched the area but found no sign of Zoe or the guy or that black sedan. They told me it was likely a setup, maybe a robbery or something worse. They towed my car and I got a ride home with one of the officers. I stick to meeting people the old-fashioned way now. It's safer, and after what happened, I can't shake the feeling of being watched whenever I'm alone. I'm 25, and until that night, I thought I'd seen it all on Tinder. After weeks of swiping, I matched with Anna, who seemed different from the rest. We hit it off, and after a few days of messaging, she said we should meet up. That same night, I hopped in my car and started to drive to her place. After a 40-minute drive, Anna's address brought me to an old house in a quiet but pretty nice neighborhood. All the lights were off though, and I felt kind of creeped out as I was pulling into her driveway. At first, I thought I had gone to the wrong place, but I double-checked the address and sure enough, it was right. Just as I was about to message her that I was here though, my phone died. I must have forgotten to charge it the night before. With no way to let Anna know I'd arrived, I figured I'd just knock. The front door was locked, and after knocking and waiting for a few more minutes, there was still nothing. I didn't want to be creepy, but I figured it wouldn't be too weird to walk around the side of the house and check the back. As I was almost to the back door, a light switched on from a nearby window. I didn't want to be weird, but curiosity got the better of me. I decided to take a look inside. What I saw still terrifies me to this day. There was Anna, just as she appeared in her Tinder pictures, but she was casually chatting with 3 massive guys, all in black hoods. each holding what were definitely wooden baseball bats. It didn't look like brothers or any friends of that sort. Adrenaline kicked in and I sprinted back to my car as fast as possible. As I was unlocking my car door, I heard the front door swing open behind me and the sound of footsteps chasing after me. One of the guys was screaming something, but I couldn't make out what he was saying. I threw myself into the car, jamming the key into the ignition and peeling away just as I saw from my rearview mirror their angry faces. I was terrified, and I didn't stop driving until I put miles between me and that house. As soon as I got back home, I charged my phone and went to report Anna's profile on Tinder, but she already deleted her account. I couldn't find any messages from her. I'll never know what exactly was happening that night, but it was definitely some sort of setup. Probably an attempt to rob me, or maybe even worse. I deleted Tinder the next day and haven't been on since. I'm not big on the dating scene, but a few years back I decided to give Tinder a shot. I matched with Claire, who seemed cool at first. After a few days of talking though, she seemed to be constantly messaging me. When her texts got too intense, I backed off and thought that was the end of it. A couple of weeks after I stopped replying to Claire, I was home alone in my bedroom one night watching Breaking Bad. Out of nowhere, I heard a noise from the backyard, wood creaking. It was pretty far away, but it sounded like something was walking on my back patio. I paused my show for a few minutes. After I heard nothing but silence, I decided that it was probably just a deer or a rabbit. As soon as I pressed play on the remote though, I heard glass shatter. Someone was breaking in. My heart started to race and I grabbed the baseball bat that I kept under my bed. I tiptoed towards the kitchen and I found the back door's window smashed in. I dialed 911 as quietly as I could. But just as the operator asked what my emergency was, I saw movement from the patio. Through the broken window's frame, she stepped in, Claire. I recognized her immediately, even in the dim light. Her hair was a mess, her eyes wild. She started calling out my name in a loud, angry voice. I have no clue how she could have found my address. Acting quickly, I ducked behind the downstairs couch in the living room. I heard her move throughout the house, overturning furniture, seemingly searching for me. Her muttering was constant, talking about some sort of connection and how I just couldn't ignore it. As soon as she started to go upstairs, I made my move. I ran as quickly as I could from the living room to the front door. As I was running away, I looked behind me and saw a glimpse of her. She was holding a big kitchen knife and started to scream at me. I didn't look back. I just kept running through my neighborhood and eventually ran so far that I couldn't even breathe. Claire wasn't behind me though, so I think I lost her. Finally getting the chance to talk to the operator, I told her my situation and to send someone over immediately. Eventually, I saw the red and blue glow of sirens in the distance, pulling up to my house. An officer later told me that they caught her in the backyard trying to flee. Claire was arrested, and it turned out she had a history of stalking, but never anything this extreme. I've since increased security around my house and deleted Tinder. Be careful who you talk to online, everyone.